In the year 2147, Earth was not alone in the stars anymore. For nearly 50 years, humanity had lived as part of something bigger, the Interstellar Council. It was a group made up of Earth, its off-world colonies, and several alien civilizations that had chosen peace over war. The Council met in a great silver dome floating above Mars, where decisions about trade, travel, and defense were made together. At least that was the idea, but Earth had always been different. While the colonies on Titan, Europa, and Proxima b had grown used to sharing power and blending their cultures with alien ones, Earth held on to its old ways. It kept its own military, its own laws, and its own pride. Earth's leaders believed that humanity's heart still beat strongest on the blue-green planet where it all began. They refused to give up control of their shipyards, their deep space mines, or their data networks, even when the Council asked, then demanded, then warned. Tensions had been rising for years. The final break came during the Unity Summit of 2147. The Council, led by the sleek, silver-skinned Virulons and the human governor of New Carthage, accused Earth of hoarding resources and building warships in secret. Earth's ambassador, Dr. Lena Cho, stood calmly before the council chamber and said, "We build ships to protect our people, not to threaten yours. And we will not hand over our sovereignty because you call it unity." That was the last straw. The vote was swift. One by one, the members raised their hands. Human colonies, alien envoys, even Earth's oldest allies. Only 3 abstained. The rest voted to expel Earth from the Interstellar Council. Not just suspend. Not just warn. Full exile. Earth was no longer part of the Alliance. Its ships would be turned away at council ports. Its citizens would be denied travel permits. Its voice silenced. The news reached Earth within minutes. It was broadcast on every screen, from the neon towers of Neo-Shanghai to the solar farms of the Sahara Reclamation Zone. People stopped in the streets. Students paused in classrooms. Workers froze on assembly lines. For the first time in generations, Earth was truly alone. Panic spread fast. Stock markets crashed. Food prices jumped. Rumors flew that the Council would cut off Earth's access to off-world medicines, rare metals, even clean water filters made only on Ganymede. Families with relatives on Mars or Titan feared they'd never see them again. Some cried. Others shouted in anger. A few packed bags, hoping to flee before the borders closed for good. But not everyone panicked. In a quiet office deep beneath Geneva, inside the United Earth Government's Central Command, a small group of leaders gathered. They were tired, pale from days of negotiation, but their eyes were sharp. Among them was General Marcus Wren, head of Earth's Space Defense Force. He was a man who rarely spoke, but when he did, people listened. "They think we'll beg," he said, his voice low. "They think we'll crawl back with our tails between our legs." Dr. Cho, still in her formal council robes, sat at the table, her hands folded. "They don't understand Earth," she said. "We've been knocked down before, floods, wars, pandemics. We rebuild, always." Another voice came from the back, Dr. Eris Thorne, Earth's lead astrophysicist. "They've cut us off from their networks, but they haven't taken our minds. Our factories still run. Our scientists still work. Our people still believe in something." There was a long silence. Outside, sirens wailed. But inside, something new was being born, not fear but focus. That night, the United Earth Government made a decision. No public speeches. No angry broadcasts. Just quiet, urgent orders sent to every shipyard, every research lab, every energy plant from Luna to the asteroid belt. "Prepare for self-reliance," the message read. "Assume no help will come from beyond Sol. Begin Phase Omega." Phase Omega was not a war plan. It was a survival plan, a rebirth plan. It meant turning every civilian factory into a dual-use facility, able to make both tractors and tank parts, both school tablets and tactical comms. It meant rerouting power from entertainment grids to research hubs. It meant training ordinary citizens in emergency engineering, navigation, and defense. Most importantly, it meant building, not just a few ships. Not just a token fleet to look strong. Earth would build a real space navy, one that could protect its borders, keep trade lanes open within the Sol system, and, if needed, stand toe-to-toe with the Council. The first step was the lunar shipyards. For decades, they had built cargo haulers and science probes under Council oversight. Now, under Earth's direct command, they began laying down keels for warships, vessels with reinforced hulls, advanced sensor arrays, and engines designed for speed and stealth. Workers who once built luxury yachts for off-world elites now welded armor plates with grim determination. On Mars, Earth's mining colonies, now cut off from Council support, chose loyalty over fear. They sent shipments of iron, nickel, and helium-3 back to Earth, not for profit but for purpose. "We're still human," said the head of the Tharsis Mining Guild in a rare public message. "And Earth is still home." Back on the planet, schools changed their curriculums overnight. Children learned orbital mechanics alongside math. Teenagers trained in zero-gravity simulations during gym class. Universities opened emergency engineering tracks. Even artists and musicians joined the effort, designing morale posters, composing anthems for ship launches, turning fear into fuel. The world did not fall apart. It tightened. Of course, there were doubts. Some said Earth was foolish to stand alone. Others whispered that the Council would crush them within a year. A few even called for surrender, for begging to be let back in. But the majority did not listen. In the streets of Mumbai, workers formed neighborhood defense watches. In the plains of Iowa, farmers retrofitted drones to monitor for sabotage. In the icy labs of Antarctica, scientists worked 20-hour shifts to improve fusion efficiency. No one was waiting for a hero. Everyone was becoming one. 6 months after the exile, something strange happened. The panic faded, not because the danger was gone, but because people had found something to do. A mission, a meaning. Earth was no longer part of the Council, but it was more united than it had been in a century. And in the silent black above the moon, the first true Earth warship, UNS Terra's Resolve, began to take shape. Its hull gleamed under the sun, not with arrogance but with quiet promise. The galaxy had cast Earth out, but Earth had not vanished. It was just getting started. After the shock of exile passed, Earth did not fall apart. Instead, it began to build, not just to survive, but to stand on its own. The year was 2148, and across the Sol system, a quiet revolution was underway. Factories that once made consumer goods now hummed with the sound of warship parts being forged. Schools taught engineering alongside history, and in space, far from Earth's blue skies, humans worked harder than ever before. The heart of this effort was the lunar shipyards. Built decades earlier as peaceful outposts for science and trade, they now became Earth's greatest weapon, not because they fired guns, but because they built them. Thousands of workers, engineers, welders, programmers, cooks, medics, lived in pressurized domes on the moon's surface or in orbiting habitats. They worked in shifts that never stopped. Sleep came in bursts. Meals were simple. But no one complained. They knew what was at stake. At first, Earth had only a few old defense ships, mostly patrol cutters and cargo escorts. They were no match for the Council's sleek, alien-designed warships. But Earth had something the Council did not: unity of purpose. Every person, from the youngest apprentice to the oldest scientist, understood that if Earth failed, there would be no backup, no rescue, no second chance. Dr. Eris Thorne, the lead physicist who had spoken in Geneva, now lived full-time in a lab on the far side of the moon. His team worked on a secret project, a new kind of engine. The Council used warp drives based on Virulent technology, powerful but slow to recharge and dependent on rare crystals only found in distant systems. Earth couldn't get those crystals anymore, so Thorne's team looked inward. They studied old human theories, forgotten experiments, and even ancient physics papers from the 21st century. After 14 months of failure, they succeeded. They created a gravity pulse drive, smaller, faster, and powered only by standard fusion reactors. It didn't need rare parts. It didn't need alien help. It was human-made, human-tested, and human-owned. The first test ship, a small scout vessel named Pathfinder, jumped from lunar orbit to the edge of the asteroid belt in under 3 hours, twice as fast as any Council ship could manage. News of the breakthrough spread quietly, not through broadcast but through secure channels. Morale soared. For the first time, Earth wasn't just copying others, it was leading. While the moon built ships, Mars built strength. The Red Planet had once been a colony under Earth's rule, but over time it had grown independent, culturally, politically, even emotionally. When the Council offered Mars a choice during the exile, side with them or with Earth, Many expected Mars to choose the Council. After all, Mars had trade deals, shared research labs, and deep ties with off-world powers. But Mars surprised everyone. The Martian Congress voted unanimously to stand with Earth. "We may live on red soil," said their leader, Governor Elira Voss, in a rare public address, "but our blood is still blue. We remember where we came from." Mars sent more than words. It sent resources. Iron from the Valles Marineris mines, water ice from the polar caps, helium-3 from deep beneath the surface, fuel for Earth's fusion reactors. Martian engineers traveled to the moon to help design ship armor. Martian pilots trained in Earth's new simulators. The two worlds, once drifting apart, now pulled together like old friends in a storm. Even the asteroid belt played its part. Small mining stations, once ignored by both Earth and the Council, now became vital. Families who had lived for generations on rocks like Ceres and Vesta began shipping raw metals to Earth's shipyards. They asked for little in return, sometimes just seeds for hydroponic gardens or medical supplies. They weren't fighting for power. They were fighting for family. Many had relatives on Earth. They refused to let their homeworld fall. Back on Earth itself, life changed in simple but powerful ways. Governments stopped arguing over borders and taxes. Instead, they shared power under a new body called the Sol Defense Directorate. It wasn't a military dictatorship. It was a council of scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, and soldiers, all working toward one goal: self-reliance. Cities turned parks into solar farms. Old highways became drone delivery routes for spare parts. Even children helped, collecting scrap metal, coding simple repair bots, or writing letters to workers in space to keep their spirits up. There were no parades, no grand speeches, just daily work done with quiet pride. By 2150, the first true warship was ready. It was named Uns Terra's Resolve. Over 800 meters long with layered armor, point defense lasers, and the new gravity pulse drive. It was unlike anything Earth had ever built. On the day of its launch, no crowds gathered. There were no fireworks. Just a small group of engineers and soldiers on the moon, watching through thick glass as the ship lifted off on silent thrusters. It moved slowly at first, then faster, until it vanished into the stars. But everyone knew it wasn't really gone. It was the first piece of Earth's new shield. Over the next 2 years, more ships followed. Un's Ocean's Shield, Yuan's Skyward Spear, Yuan's Iron Root. Each one carried not just weapons, but hope. Earth wasn't building an army to attack. It was building a fleet to protect, to guard its people, its planets, and its future. And something else was happening too. Earth's scientists, cut off from alien data streams, began making discoveries on their own. They improved food growth in space. They created better radiation shields. They even found ways to recycle air and water with near-perfect efficiency. Innovation wasn't coming from the top down. It was bubbling up from classrooms, garages, and small labs across the planet. The Council watched from afar. At first they laughed. "Earth is playing with toys," said a virulent ambassador on a private channel. "They'll run out of fuel or parts or willpower. They always do." But as the months passed, the laughter faded. Reports came in. Earth ships were patrolling the edges of the Sol system. They stopped pirate raids near Jupiter. They rescued a stranded research station near Saturn. They even helped a neutral trading post repair its oxygen system after a solar flare. Earth wasn't hiding. It was helping, and people noticed. Small colonies on the edge of Council space, places that had never mattered much to the big powers, began sending quiet messages to Earth. "Can you spare a part? Do you have medics? Will you trade?" Earth always said yes, not for profit, not for control, just because it was the right thing to do. By 2152, Earth's fleet had grown to over 200 ships. Not all were warships. Many were freighters, hospital vessels, or mobile factories. But they all flew the same flag, a simple blue circle with a white olive branch and a gear, symbolizing peace through strength and work. The galaxy had expected Earth to collapse after exile. Instead, Earth had awakened, and in the silence of space far from the eyes of the Council, a new power was rising, not with shouts but with steel, science, and sweat. Earth was no longer asking for permission. It was building its own future, one ship at a time. Earth did not stay in its own backyard. After building its fleet, it looked outward, not to fight, but to help. The year was 2153 and the Sol system was safe. Food, power, and ships were flowing. But beyond the edge of human space, in the outer colonies and forgotten star systems, trouble was growing. Pirates raided supply lines, alien storms damaged stations, and the Interstellar Council, busy with its own politics, often ignored the small, struggling worlds. Earth saw this, and it acted. At first, Earth's moves were quiet. A freighter named Yoon's Harvest Moon was sent to the Viridia system, where a farming colony had lost its water purifiers in a solar flare. Earth didn't ask for payment. It sent engineers, spare parts, and clean filters. The colonists wept when the water ran clear again. Next, a distress call came from New Carthage's outer rim, a mining outpost under attack by raiders. The Council had labeled the area low priority, but Earthship UN's Iron Root arrived within hours. It drove off the pirates with warning shots, then stayed for 3 days to help rebuild damaged walls and scan for hidden bombs. Before leaving, its captain handed the outpost leader a data chip. "If you need us," it said, "just send this signal. We'll come." Word spread fast, soon more calls came. A medical ship, Yun's White Dawn, traveled to the icy world of Frosthold where a strange fever was killing children. Earth doctors worked side by side with local healers. They found the cause, a mold in the air filters, and fixed it. They left behind medicine, training, and hope. Earth never demanded loyalty. It never asked colonies to join its side or speak against the Council. It simply showed up, fixed what was broken, protected the weak, then left. This was not war. It was service, and people noticed. On Viridia Prime, farmers began painting Earth's blue and white symbol on their barns. On the space station, Helios 9, traders started using Earth-made comms gear because it was tougher and cheaper than Council models. On the desert moon of Keswick, elders told stories of the blue ships that came when no one else would. The Council grew uneasy. At first, they dismissed Earth's actions as charity stunts. But as more systems turned to Earth for help, their tone changed. They called Earth manipulative. They claimed it was buying loyalty. But the truth was simpler. Earth gave help without strings. The Council gave orders with threats. By 2155, Earth had regular routes through the outer rim. Its fleet didn't just carry weapons, it carried seeds, medicine, tools, and teachers. Some ships even had small schools on board, so children on remote stations could learn math and history from Earth educators. One of the most important missions happened on the planet, called Haven's Rest. It was a small world, home to just 12,000 people, mostly refugees from old Earth wars who had settled there decades ago. When a nearby star went unstable, radiation levels rose. The Council told them to evacuate or take their chances. But evacuation ships cost credits they didn't have. Earth sent the Yoon's Skyward Spear. It didn't just bring shields. It brought a team that built underground shelters using local rock and earth tech. They installed solar mirrors to deflect radiation. They taught the people how to grow food in sealed domes. And when the worst of the storm passed, Earth stayed to help them rebuild, not as rulers but as neighbors. The leader of Haven's Rest, an old woman named Mira Solon, spoke to Earth's captain before he left. "You didn't have to come," she said. "We know," he replied. "But we're human." That's enough. That phrase, "we're human, that's enough," became a quiet motto across the outer colonies. Back on Earth, life continued to change. The planet was no longer just a home, it was a hub. Every day new data came in from distant systems. Star maps, mineral reports, weather patterns, even alien plant samples. Earth scientists studied it all. Universities shared findings freely. No patents, no secrets, just knowledge for survival. Young people dreamed not of fame or wealth, but of serving on Earth's fleet. Recruitment centers filled up, not with soldiers looking for glory, but with medics, engineers, pilots, and farmers who wanted to help others. Training was hard. Failure was common, but no one quit easily. They knew what their work meant. Even Earth's enemies began to doubt their stance. Some former council members, especially from human colonies, started asking questions. "Why did we exile Earth?" They whispered. "They're doing what we should have done." A few colonies quietly broke ties with the council. Not with war, not with speeches, just by stopping council tax payments and switching to Earth trade routes. The council threatened sanctions, but the colonies didn't care. Earth gave them what they needed: fairness, respect, and help when it mattered. By 2156, Earth's influence stretched across 30 star systems. Not because it conquered them, but because it earned them. Every world that joined Earth's network did so by choice. There were no forced treaties, no secret spies, just open hands and honest work. The fleet grew too, not just in numbers but in skill. Pilots learned to fly in asteroid storms. Medics treated alien diseases. Engineers fixed engines made by 3 different species. Earth's people were becoming truly interstellar, not by copying others, but by adapting, learning, and caring. One night, on the bridge of the UNS Terra's Resolve, Captain Elias Rowe looked at a star map glowing on his screen. Dots of light showed every place Earth had helped. Dozens of them. Each one a story. Each one a bond. His first officer, a young woman from Mars named Kira, stood beside him. "They used to call us exiles," she said softly. "Now they call us guardians," he replied, and it was true. Across the galaxy, Earth's ships were no longer seen as outcasts. They were seen as protectors. When a system was in trouble, people didn't pray to the Council. They sent a signal to Earth. The Council tried to copy Earth's methods. They sent a few aid ships of their own. But their help came with rules, fees, and demands. People saw through it. They remembered who came first, who stayed longest, who asked for nothing in return. Earth never declared an empire. It never raised a flag over another world. But slowly, without force or fanfare, a new kind of alliance was forming. One built on trust, not treaties. On deeds, not decrees. And at its heart was a simple idea. If you can help, you should buy 2157. Even the Virulans, the proud alien race that had led Earth's exile, began to wonder if they had made a mistake. Their spies reported that Earth's ships were faster, its people more united, its reputation stronger than ever. But Earth wasn't watching the Council. It was watching the stars, and the people who lived among them. It kept building. It kept helping. It kept moving forward, not for power, not for revenge, but because it was the right thing to do. And in doing so, Earth was not just surviving exile, it was turning it into something greater. The peace could not last. Earth had grown strong by helping others, but the Interstellar Council saw that strength as a threat. By 2158, Earth's ships were welcome in dozens of systems that once belonged to the Council. Trade routes had shifted, loyalties had changed, and the Council's leaders, especially the Virulans and the human governor of New Carthage, were losing control. They needed to act. And they chose a place they thought Earth would not defend, the Helios Rift. The Helios Rift was not a planet or a station. It was a natural wormhole near Proxima Centauri, a shortcut through space that connected the inner colonies to the outer rim. For years, the Council had controlled it, charging tolls and inspecting every ship that passed. But after Earth began sending aid ships through it, the Council grew angry. They claimed Earth was smuggling weapons. There was no proof. But they didn't need proof. They needed an excuse. One morning in early spring of 2158, the Council sent a message to all ships. The Helios Rift is closed to Earth vessels. Any ship flying Earth's colors will be turned back by force. Earth's leaders met in secret. They knew this was a test. If they backed down, their allies would lose faith. If they pushed forward, war might begin. After hours of debate, General Marcus Wren spoke the words that changed everything. "We do not seek war, but we will not be blocked from helping those who need us." A convoy was prepared. Not a war fleet, just 3 supply ships carrying medicine, food, and repair drones for the colony on Viridia Prime. But Earth did not send them alone. The UN's Terra's Resolve, now the flagship of the fleet, would escort them. So would 5 other warships, including the Ewan's Iron Root and Ewan's Skyward Spear. Their orders were clear: protect the convoy. Do not fire unless fired upon. As the ships approached the Helios Rift, they found what they expected: a Council blockade. 12 warships, 6 human, 6 Virulan, formed a wall across the wormhole's mouth. Their weapons were powered. Their comms were silent. Captain Elias Rowe of the Terra's Resolve sent a simple message: "We carry aid for Viridia Prime. We mean no harm. Let us pass." The reply came cold and sharp: "Turn back, or be destroyed." For a long moment, nothing moved. Stars burned in the black. Engines hummed softly. On every Earth ship, crews stood ready, not with fear but with focus. Then, without warning, the Council fired. A plasma bolt streaked across space and struck the lead supply ship. Shields held, but barely. Alarms blared. Captain Rowe gave one order: defend the convoy. What followed was not a battle of numbers, but of will. The Council had more ships. But Earth had better tech. The gravity pulse drives allowed Earth's warships to move faster, dodge harder, and reposition in seconds. While Council ships lumbered through slow turns, Earth's vessels danced like sparks in a storm. The Iron Root took point, drawing fire with its thick armor. The Skyward Spear flanked from above, launching drone swarms that jammed enemy sensors. The Terra's Resolve stayed near the supply ships, using its powerful shields to absorb hits meant for the unarmed vessels. For 72 hours, the fight raged in the cold dark near the wormhole. Food ran low, oxygen recyclers strained. Wounded medics treated the injured while still at their posts, but no one broke. On the second day, Earth's secret weapon showed its worth. A small scout ship, the Pathfinder, slipped behind enemy lines using its silent drive. It planted signal beacons that confused the Council's targeting systems. Suddenly, their shots went wide. Their coordination fell apart. By the third day, the Council fleet was in chaos. Two virulent ships collided trying to avoid a drone. A human cruiser lost power after an Earth laser sliced its engine array. One by one, they retreated. When it was over, Earth still held the field. The supply ships were battered but whole. The convoy passed safely through the Helios Rift and delivered its cargo to Viridia Prime. News of the battle spread like fire. The Council tried to hide the truth. They claimed Earth had attacked without warning. But recordings from neutral traders told a different story. Everyone saw who fired first. Across the galaxy, people reacted not with fear but with admiration. Earth had not started the fight, but it had finished it with skill, courage, and restraint. It had protected the weak without becoming cruel. Within weeks, more systems left the Council. Not in anger, but in quiet choice. The mining world of Kestros cut ties and asked Earth for trade. The science station Theta 7 switched its data network to Earth's. Even some human colonies that once voted for Earth's exile now sent messages of apology and requests for alliance. The Virulons were stunned. They had believed their technology was unmatched. They had believed Earth would crumble under pressure. Instead, Earth had stood firm and won. Back on Earth, there were no victory parades, no loud speeches. But in homes, schools, and shipyards, people felt a deep pride. They had been tested, and they had not failed. General Wren addressed the Sol Defense Directorate one evening. "We did not win because we wanted to rule," he said. "We won because we refused to let others suffer while we stood by." Dr. Lena Cho, now Earth's chief diplomat, added, "This is not the end. It is a turning point. We must offer a new path, not just for Earth, but for everyone." And so Earth did something unexpected. Instead of demanding surrender or territory, Earth sent out a simple message to every system in known space. Join us not as subjects, but as partners. We offer defense, trade, and shared knowledge. No one will be forced. No one will be forgotten. The message was plain. No fancy words. Just honesty. Many came. Former enemies arrived at Earth's orbital docks with open comms and empty weapon bays. They wanted to talk, to learn, to rebuild trust. Even a few virulent scientists, tired of their leader's pride, reached out in secret. They asked for data on Earth's gravity pulse drive, not to copy it, but to understand how humans had solved a problem their own race had given up on. Earth shared what it could. The battle at Helios Rift had not just been a fight over a wormhole. It had been a test of values. And Earth's values, protection, fairness, and courage, had won. By the end of 2158, Earth's fleet had grown to over 300 ships, but more importantly, its circle of friends had grown too. What began as exile had become something new, a network of worlds bound not by fear, but by choice. And as stars burned in the endless night, Earth's ships sailed on, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy had tried to silence Earth. Instead, it had given Earth a voice louder than ever. 5 years after Earth was cast out, the stars looked different, not because the galaxies had moved, but because people saw them with new eyes. In the year 2160, Earth was no longer an outcast. It was the heart of something new, a union of worlds that chose to stand together not because they were forced, but because they believed in the same things: fairness, freedom, and helping one another. The change did not happen with a bang, but with quiet steps. After the Battle of Helios Rift, many systems that once followed the Interstellar Council began to drift away. They did not join Earth out of fear or greed. They joined because Earth had shown up when no one else would, because Earth asked for nothing in return, because Earth treated every life as valuable, human or not. By 2160, 47 star systems had signed on to what Earth now called the Soul Conquered. It was not an empire in the old sense. There was no emperor, no capital that ruled all others. Each world kept its own laws, its own leaders, its own way of life. But they agreed on a few simple rules: protect each other, share knowledge freely, and never let the strong crush the weak. To mark this new beginning, Earth invited every member world to a meeting, not in a war room or a council chamber, but on the moon. The place chosen was Tranquility Base, where humans had first walked on another world over 200 years before. It was a symbol, not of conquest, but of hope. Delegates came from everywhere. Humans from Mars, Titan, and distant colonies like Viridia Prime. Aliens too, some from species Earth had never met before. Even a few former council members arrived, heads bowed not as enemies but as seekers of a better way. The meeting lasted 10 days. There were no grand speeches at first. Instead, people shared stories. A farmer from Frosthold spoke about how Earth's medic saved her village from fever. A young engineer from Keswick showed how Earth's solar mirrors helped his people survive a radiation storm. A Virelan scientist once loyal to the old council admitted, "We thought strength came from control. You showed us it comes from care." On the final day, they signed the Conquered Charter. It was a short document, just 3 pages. It said that no world would be forced to join. No world would be left behind. And if any member was in danger, all would help. Dr. Lena Cho stood before the group, not as a leader, but as a witness. "We were exiled because we refused to give up who we are," she said. "But in that exile, we found something greater, each other." General Marcus Wren, older now but still sharp-eyed, added, "Earth's fleet is strong, but our true strength is the trust you've given us. We will never waste it." After the signing, something simple happened. People ate together, not in fancy halls but at long tables under the moon's silent sky. They shared food from their homes, spiced bread from New Carthage, fruit from Viridia, algae cakes from Martian domes, even a sweet drink made by a small alien species from the Theta system. There were no guards, no secrets, just people finally at peace. Back on Earth, life had changed too. The planet was no longer just a home, it was a teacher. Its universities opened free data links to every conquered world. Its factories built not just weapons, but tools for farming, healing, and building. Its artists painted murals showing humans and aliens working side by side. Children grew up learning not just Earth's history, but the stories of all their new friends among the stars. The fleet still sailed, but its mission had grown. Ships now carried not only soldiers, but teachers, doctors, and builders. The Yun's White Dawn became a floating hospital, visiting systems with no medical centers. The Yun's Harvest Moon helped colonies grow food in harsh climates. Even the mighty Terra's Resolve spent more time delivering aid than patrolling borders. And the old Interstellar Council? It did not vanish overnight, but it shrank. Many of its members quietly left. Others stayed but grew quieter, humbler. Some even asked to join the conquered. Earth did not say yes right away. It asked them to prove their change, not with words, but with actions. A few did. They sent aid to struggling worlds. They apologized to those they had ignored. Slowly, trust began to grow. Earth never sought revenge. It never gloated. It simply lived its values and let others see the difference. One evening, Captain Elias Rowe stood on the observation deck of the Terra's Resolve, now docked in lunar orbit. His ship had seen battle, rescue, and peace. He watched as a new Concorde vessel, a small science ship built by engineers from 3 different worlds, flew past, heading toward the stars. His first officer, Kira, joined him. "We came a long way," she said. "We did," he replied. "But the real work is just beginning," she smiled. "What's that?" "Making sure this peace lasts, not by force, but by never forgetting why we built it." And that was the truth. Earth had not built an empire of power. It had built an empire of purpose. An empire where every world mattered, where every life counted, where help was given freely, and dignity was never for sale. In cities across Earth, people went about their days. Farmers planted crops. Students studied. Workers built. But now they knew their work meant something beyond their own streets. A part they made might fix a ship on Mars. A lesson they taught might help a child on Frosthold. A song they sang might comfort someone light years away. The galaxy was still vast. Danger still existed. But for the first time in a long time, people did not face it alone. Earth had been cast out. But in the silence of exile it had listened, not to its pride but to its heart. And from that heart it built something the Council never could. A family of worlds. Bound not by law but by choice. As the moon rose over Geneva, over Mumbai, over the quiet farms of Iowa, lights shone in homes and labs and shipyards. Not the harsh glare of war, but the steady glow of work, of hope, of tomorrow. Earth was no longer just a planet, it was a promise, and across the stars, that promise was being kept. One act of kindness, one shared idea, one honest hand at a time.